Hi everyone. Today I came with the topic from 10th class. First lesson, page number 11 and 12. The topic is relative clauses. We already discussed clauses. So, what is a relative clause? Let's see them. A relative clause is a sentence describing a noun. However, it cannot be used separately. It comes after the noun defined by a basic sentence. It is also called adjective clause because it defines a noun. Let us see an example. The shop which sells clothes is about to close down. Can you identify the relative clause here? Yes, which sells clothes is a relative clause. This clause describing the noun the shop, and it cannot be used separately. So after the noun we used this clause. It can be called as adjective clause because it defines the noun the shop. Let's see one more example. This is the butcher that sells the best meat. What is the relative clause here? Yes, that sells the best meat is the relative clause. Do you identify any difference between these two sentences? Yes. In the first sentence, we separated the relative clause with the commas. In the second sentence, we haven't used any commas. Why? Before going to the answer, let us see the same grammar point from our textbook. Grammar, defining and non-defining relative clauses. Let us read the following sentences. First one. The woman who taught him surfing had been bitten by a shark. Second, Nick, who was teased and bullied, had an electric wheelchair for mobility. What difference do you notice between sentence 1 and 2? In sentence 1, the relative clause defines the woman. It is a defining relative clause. In sentence 2, the relative clause adds extra information about Nick. This is a non-defining relative clause. A non-defining relative clause is preceded and followed by a comma or a hyphen. For example, the brave 26 years old who is mainly a torso plays football and golf, swims and surfs. Okay, what can you understand here? In relative clause, we are discussing about two different types. One is defining and second one is non-defining. Let us see them with some more clarity. What is a defining relative clause? Defining relative clauses. They describe the preceding noun. There is no comma between the noun and the defining relative clauses. Thus, it has the function of defining the object being referred to. For example, the man who is wearing named clothes is an idiot. So here, who is wearing named clothes is a defining relative clause because it defines the preceding noun, that is the man. We haven't used any commas here. Okay, here we are defining an idiot man, so it is called as defining relative clause. Next one, non-defining relative clauses. When a relative clause merely describes an object to which the speaker or writer is referring, the clause must be placed between commas. For example, the car which has three intersecting circles is known as Audi. So here the basic sentence is the car is known as Audi. The relative class which has three intersecting circles is just giving some more information about Audi car. So it is non-defining relative clause. So what are the main differences between defining and non-defining clauses? First one, in defining clause we use no commas. Necessary information, essential to distinguish which thing or person we are talking about. So we don't use any commas. For example, I called my brother who lives in Ontario. Here it means I have more than one brother and I called the one that lives in Ontario. That means we are giving the necessary information. So the clause who lives in Ontario is become the defining relative clause. Coming to non-defining relative clause, we use the relative clause between commas because extra information we are giving here, not necessary to distinguish which thing or person we are talking about. For example, my brother who lives in Ontario is older. Here I have only one brother and I'm just mentioning that he lives in Ontario. So here we are not giving the necessary information, we are giving just the extra information. So when we give necessary information, that is defining, there we use no commas. When we are giving extra information about a noun, that is non-defining clause, and we have to write the relative clause in between commas. Next difference, we can use that in defining clause. We cannot use that in non-defining clause. For example, we can use that instead of who or which. That's the mug which I bought in Paris, or that's the mug that I bought in Paris. Next example, I did not know the man who was there. We can use instead of who here that. For example, I did not know the man that was there. So in non-defining relative clause sentences, we cannot use that. For example, these bikes which cost a fortune are made in Japan. Here we cannot use that. The last difference is relative pronouns can be omitted in defining clause. For example, we can omit who, which, that when they are followed by subject plus verb. Sentence: do you like the song which I wrote? Or do you like the song that I wrote? Here the relative clause followed by subject verb. What is the subject here? I. Verb wrote. So in this sentence we can omit the relative pronouns which or that. So we can easily say that, do you like the song I wrote? In the same way, next sentence also, that's the man who I like, or that's the man that I like, or that's the man I like. Coming to noun defining, here relative pronouns can't be omitted. We cannot omit who or which. For example, they introduced me to John, who I liked immediately. We cannot say simply, they introduced me to John, I liked immediately. It is the wrong sentence. So these are all the Main differences between defining and non-defining relative clauses. Let's see some more examples. Defining relative clauses identifies the noun. They are the couple who are dancing. It is the house which has an orange door. London is the city where I was born. Non-defining relative clauses give useful information about the noun. I live in London, which has a lot of good museums. I love the guitar, which I found relaxing. My brother, who plays the piano, likes to discuss music. These two bits are the exercises from our textbook. First one, read the text again and identify some more defining and non-defining relative clauses. So here I am not going to spoon feed you. You have to read the total lesson and identify defining and non-defining relative clauses. Coming to the second bit, complete the sentences with a defining or non-defining relative clauses. So I will complete these sentences orally and you have to come up with your new sentences. For example, first one, this is the peaceful place where we lived. Second one, the Mahaprasthanam is a popular book which was written by Sri Sri. Suresh, who is in blue dress, has left the school just now. Is this the street where you met with an accident? Fifth one, the express, which number is 123, has just arrived. So, I will be waiting for your own sentences on defining and non-defining relative clauses. Hope you understand and come up with your examples. Finally, you have a test on the URL testmos.com/5212962, passcode 20102010. By attempting this test, you can understand how much you have understood the topic. All the best. Thank you.